I've always thought of maps as a way to get from point A to point B. And maybe not much more than that. Maybe a snapshot of a bird's eye view of a place. And community cartography is a different sort of thing. It's a way to look at place in a different way and build it from the bottom up. I'm going to talk to you about that today. But first, what I want to do is kind of give you some ways to think about maps and your relationship with maps. Maps have been around a long time, and these ancient maps were usually kind of delimiting the space that people lived in, and anywhere outside was probably danger lurking, and that's where you get there be dragons, right? But also, maps give us some insight into the social norms. And when I look at this body of water, I'm not sure, should I call this the Persian Gulf, or is this the Arabian Gulf? And I think it depends on which shore you're looking at the water from. Maps have been used for a long time for people to try to figure out what's going on with data, learning from the data. This is a map from the 1800s, John Snow's map of the cholera epidemic in London back in 1854. And in here, these the black boxes you see in the map, these indicate cases of cholera that were documented there. And he mapped them. And then he's compared that map to the map of the drinking wells. And he found that, surprise, these cholera cases were around this one drinking well. Mystery solved using maps. On the other side of this spectrum, and thinking about the other side from data analysis, maps can be a fiction too. Maps can be fictional items. This map was drawn by Robert Louis Stevenson long before he wrote his famous novel, Treasure Island. So map first, then the story. So current map makers, they're thinking in kind of a different way. They're thinking a little more about who are the map makers and what's their agenda, what motivates them. And they're trying to encourage us to think in the same way. And that leads us to community cartography. Now, I've been thinking about maps as a way to do a portrait of a community. And I've been exploring this with a collaborator, John Gunderlock. He's a historic preservationist in Uptown. And we came up with a technique that we use where we can work from the bottom up to build maps about communities. What I'd like to do now is to kind of walk you through one of the early projects that I did, and I worked with John on this. This is called Uptown Walks. Now, Uptown Walks is an implementation of this community cartography, and what it is a way that we can go out and look at the community and start to document it in some way. So what John and I decided to do was we went out, we got on our bikes, we walked around Uptown, and we started looking at the sites that really interested us. What was it that we found good about Uptown and we wanted to share with people? Then we contacted a local blog and block clubs and got input from them to see what's interesting in the neighborhood. What we do, sorry about that. So once we compiled all of this data, so we have these sites that we want to put on, and then we compile these sites and put them into categories that we decided what those categories were. So I put a key up here, and you can see any icon that contains a dot in the middle. That means that it has a sound recording associated that you can click on. A yellow cow is for artwork in the community. The green tree means it's some kind of nature item. And then this museum-looking thing is for urban fossils. Now, all of the sites that we put on the map are clickable, and most of them have a photograph associated with them. So you can put photographs, you can put links, sounds, videos, anything you want, anything that can be uploaded to the map, that is. So as we're making this map, I started to get a little more in tune with what I was experiencing in my neighborhood. And one of the things was the sounds of the neighborhood. So I take the train every day, and I started thinking about, oh, I love that, the clicking of the turnstiles, and I love the roar of the rail cars. And I thought, oh, I'm going to include that.
Doors closing. The door is closing.
So we have several of these sound clips associated with the map. We have the skateboard park, that sound of skateboards. We have the ice cream vendor bells on the lakefront. But lest you think that just because it's the quintessential urban community that we don't have any nature, well, there's actually a bird sanctuary on the lake there. And we went on an excursion there at 5 a.m. to record this. Springtime. Now, I mentioned these categories, and some of them are pretty obvious. And I think for Uptown, especially as we went through Uptown and started looking at the artwork there, it was obvious that artwork was going to be a category. There's sculpture, there are mosaics, there are murals, there's all of this kind of artwork there. Less predictable, I think, was this category, urban fossils. And if any of you have walked down the streets of Chicago, you've probably run into something like this, animal tracks or the seeds or leaves that you saw that left their impression in the concrete. Even human tracks, right? And it used to be, before community cartography, I would look at these and I would kind of smile and forget about it. But now, I have a place to catalog it. And the funny thing is, I know it sounds weird, but once you start doing it, you can't stop. It kind of gives you this place to put these little treasures. Another category, probably not what you would expect, is ghost signs. So ghost signs, if you ask anyone in the neighborhood about a ghost sign, where's the nearest ghost sign? Everyone knows one. Everyone has a favorite. And there are a lot in Uptown, as there are all over Chicago. This is one of my favorites. This Coca-Cola sign was revealed when they demolished the building next to this building with the sign on it. And this sign is like perfectly preserved because of that. Now, what I really like about this in terms of community cartography is that we've documented several things here. We've documented this past, this sign from the past, 50-year-old, 60-year-old sign, but we've also documented this moment in time, because I guarantee you there's another building that's going to go up next to this sign, and it's going to go back into storage. But now we've documented it. We have it on the map, this ghost sign. And we're not fussy about ghost signs. We accept paper signs too. That's okay. So as an educator, I was interested in trying to make some kind of educational tool here. And what we came up with was what we call the Buena Avenue Walk, the Buena Avenue Tree Walk. It starts at this little park next to the L, and you walk straight down Buena Avenue, this beautiful tree-lined street. And when you, and it ends up at this really cool sculpture garden on the lake, so it's like the perfect walk. You got to do it. This, these clickable icons then are for the particular trees, so that you can get a picture of the tree, hopefully some kind of identifying information. Maybe it's the leaf, maybe it's the kind of seed or fruit from the tree, depending. And also, remember, we can put links in there too. So we could put the links in there to more technical information, the kind of stuff that I couldn't really tell a person about. This is the kind of thing, this as an educational tool, this is great for teachers, students, but also just for people in the neighborhood, right? You want to know what are those trees on my street? One thing that fell out of the project of this Uptown Walks was, and this was an unexpected result. We realized that we could actually engage the community from using the map. So what we decided to do was sponsor a mural walk. So what we did was we recruited a muralist in Uptown, and she was great. She led the mural tour, and you can see we looked at a bunch of these on the way, and the interesting thing was this is early morning on a cold Saturday, October morning, and we got a great turnout. And I mean, it really showed us how people are interested in their community. They're interested in knowing more. And I wanted to mention that you can see here that we didn't cover all the sites on the walk, so we're hoping for a sequel. We're going to have Mural Walk 2, and you're all invited. Now, you can see that community cartography is, it worked out pretty well for us in this project, I think. And I want to make sure that people understand with this that it's not so much about the technology. It looks like it is, right? But the technology is easy to learn. People can do it really quickly. And the key is participation. It's the enthusiasm of the neighborhood that brings about these kind of maps. We decided that it's not the technology. We can do it without ones and zeros. So John and I created cardboard walks. And what we did, this is an art installation at the Preston Bradley Center in Uptown. And we built this map out of cardboard. It's a map of our electronic map. And the community was there for the opening. It was part of the Chicago Artists Month. What we did was on the map, instead of clickable links, they had little cardboard windows that you could open up and little pictures in there. We had QR codes where people with their mobile devices were able to listen to some of the sounds. I know that's cheating in a way, but that's okay. But that's how we translated it. And beyond that, we wanted this to also contribute to our electronic map. So we made available little slips of paper for people to tell their stories and attach those to the map. And then we could take those and put them on our electronic map. We're so glad that we did this because we got some excellent contributions, and everything from, there was a guy who saw, so we now have mapped the alley where this guy saw a peregrine falcon swoop down and take a pigeon. We also, now on the map, we have the cafe where a woman was broken up with twice by the same person, okay? So the point is that this kind of contribution in both ways is what this community cartography is about and how we can make it work for us. So the thing to remember, I want you to take away from this is it's not the technology, right? It's the spirit of the community. It's 1,000 eyes making what no 2 eyes could make alone. I love this quote from Pierre Levy. No one knows everything, but everyone knows something. And I think this really captures the spirit of community cartography. And I know now that having been involved with this, this project, that I really look at my community differently. And I think that all the oddities and all the little details of the community that I see now, I feel like now they have a home, right? And this home I can share. Thank you.